What happened when a 7-year-old boy in a perfect miniature Royal Guard uniform saluted Sergeant Thompson at Buckingham Palace will restore your faith in humanity. The little boy had been standing at attention for 20 minutes, copying every movement of the real guard with military precision that amazed onlookers. But when he finally stepped forward and gave the crispest salute anyone had ever seen, what Sergeant Thompson did next broke every protocol rule in the book. His response moved the entire crowd to tears and created a viral moment that would be viewed by millions worldwide. The exchange between these two guards, 60 years apart in age but united in respect, would remind everyone watching what true honor looks like. Now, before we show you this heartwarming moment that proves respect has no age limit, make sure you're subscribed and drop a comment telling us about a time a child's innocence restored your faith in goodness. Now let's get into it. Buckingham Palace on a crisp October morning was experiencing one of those perfect London days that made ceremonial duties feel like a privilege rather than work. The autumn sunlight cast golden shadows across the forecourt, where Sergeant James Thompson of the Coldstream Guards stood at his assigned post, representing 12 years of military excellence and 3 operational tours that had taken him from the Afghan mountains to this prestigious ceremonial position. At 34, Thompson embodied the perfect balance of combat veteran and ceremonial ambassador, understanding that his role extended far beyond standing motionless for tourist photographs. Thompson had been at his post for nearly 2 hours, maintaining the flawless military bearing that had made the Queen's Guard legendary worldwide, when he noticed something unusual developing in the crowd of observers. Unlike the typical tourist photography and casual conversations, there was a growing circle of quiet attention focused on something near the palace railings. The energy was different, respectful, almost reverent, as if people were witnessing something special rather than simply observing routine ceremony. The source of this attention was 7-year-old Samuel Mitchell, a military enthusiast from Cornwall who had convinced his grandmother to bring him to London specifically to see the changing of the guard. Samuel wasn't wearing ordinary children's clothing, but a meticulously accurate miniature Royal Guard uniform that his grandfather, a retired sergeant major, had commissioned from the same tailors who supplied the actual military. Every detail was perfect. The scarlet tunic with its gold braiding, the miniature bearskin cap, the tiny white gloves, even regulation boots scaled down to child size. Samuel had been studying the guards for months through online videos and books, learning not just the visual elements of the uniform but the precise movements, posture, and bearing that separated actual military discipline from costume performance. His grandfather had spent hours teaching him proper military deportment, explaining that wearing the uniform correctly meant understanding the honor and responsibility it represented. Samuel's preparation wasn't play acting but genuine. Respect for military tradition, expressed through careful attention to detail and authentic reverence for the service. The uniform symbolized what made Samuel's presence so compelling wasn't just his perfectly executed uniform, but his behavior. While other children ran around, pointed and chattered excitedly, Samuel had positioned himself directly across from Thompson's post and assumed the same position of attention that the sergeant was maintaining. For 20 minutes, Samuel had been mirroring Thompson's every movement with remarkable precision, adjusting his posture when Thompson shifted weight, maintaining the same forward gaze, even breathing in the controlled rhythm that military training instilled. The crowd around Samuel had grown from curious glances to respectful observation as people realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Parents were quietly explaining to their own children about the importance of military service and respect for tradition, using Samuel's example to teach lessons about honor, discipline, and the value of understanding something before trying to emulate it. Tour guides had begun incorporating Samuel into their presentations, explaining how his behavior demonstrated the kind of respect that made ceremonial duties meaningful rather than mere tourist attractions. Thompson was acutely aware of Samuel's presence and performance, his peripheral vision allowing him to observe the child's remarkable discipline and accuracy. As someone who had trained dozens of young soldiers, Thompson could recognize the difference between childhood mimicry and genuine understanding of military bearing. Samuel wasn't simply copying movements, he was demonstrating comprehension of what those movements represented. maintaining his position with the kind of sustained focus that many adults couldn't achieve. The other members of Thompson's unit had also noticed Samuel's performance, and word had quietly spread through the ceremonial guard network about the young boy who was demonstrating better military deportment than some recruits. The situation was unprecedented. Never before had anyone witnessed a child maintain proper guard position for such an extended period while showing such authentic understanding of military protocol and respect. Samuel's grandmother, Margaret Mitchell, watched her grandson with pride tinged by emotion, understanding that his dedication to military tradition honored his late grandfather's memory while demonstrating the kind of character development that transcended age. She had initially worried that the uniform might seem presumptuous or disrespectful, but Samuel's behavior had proven that authentic respect could be recognized and appreciated regardless of age or official status. The morning's development was creating exactly the kind of positive interaction that made ceremonial duties rewarding for professional soldiers like Thompson. Instead of managing inappropriate tourist behavior or maintaining dignity despite casual disrespect, he was witnessing genuine appreciation and understanding from someone young enough to represent hope for continued respect for military service and traditions. The morning progressed, and Samuel maintained his position with unwavering dedication. Thompson found himself facing a decision that would balance military protocol with recognition of extraordinary respect and discipline. The child's performance deserved acknowledgement, but any response would need to honor both military tradition and the genuine character that Samuel was demonstrating. But here's what made this moment so profoundly meaningful: the parallel military histories that connected Samuel Mitchell and Sergeant James Thompson across generations of service, sacrifice, and family tradition. Samuel's dedication to military precision wasn't random childhood interest, but the expression of family heritage that stretched back through 3 generations of military service, connecting him to the same traditions that had shaped Thompson's understanding of honor, duty, and the significance of wearing uniform with pride. Samuel's great-grandfather had served with distinction in World War II as a member of the Coldstream Guards, the same regiment that Thompson now represented at Buckingham Palace. Company Sergeant Major Robert Mitchell had fought through the North African campaign, survived the Italian advance, and participated in the liberation of Europe, earning decorations for valor that reflected not just personal courage but the kind of leadership that inspired entire units to perform beyond their perceived capabilities. Under impossible circumstances, the military tradition had continued with Samuel's grandfather, Warrant Officer Harold Mitchell, who had served 30 years with the British Army, including tours in Northern Ireland, the Falklands, and early peacekeeping operations that established him as exactly the kind of professional soldier who understood that military service was about far more than individual achievement or personal recognition. Harold had taught his family that wearing uniform carried obligations, to honor those who had worn it before, and to demonstrate the values that made military service meaningful to civilian society. Samuel's fascination with military tradition had begun, with bedtime stories about his great-grandfather's service, continued through visits to military museums with his grandfather, and developed into genuine understanding of what military discipline and honor represented in practical terms. His request for an authentic uniform hadn't been childhood desire for costume, but recognition that proper respect required proper preparation, understanding and commitment to representing military values accurately rather than superficially. Thompson's own military background created perfect, parallel understanding of what Samuel's behavior represented and why it deserved recognition. Thompson's path to the Coldstream Guards had begun with childhood inspiration from his father's service in the Royal Marines, developed through cadet programs that taught military values before military skills, and culminated in operational deployments where abstract concepts of honor and duty became intensely practical requirements for mission success and unit survival. During his tours in Afghanistan, Thompson had learned that military tradition wasn't ceremonial nostalgia, but practical foundation for the kind of unit cohesion, individual discipline, and mission commitment that separated effective military organizations from armed groups that lacked the institutional culture necessary for complex operations under extreme stress. The ceremonial duties he now performed weren't separate from combat effectiveness, but expressions of the same values that had kept him and his fellow soldiers alive during operations where discipline and tradition provided stability in chaotic circumstances. What made Thompson particularly qualified to appreciate Samuel's performance was his experience training young soldiers who often arrived at military service with little understanding of what military culture represented, or why traditions that seemed arbitrary to civilians were actually essential elements of building effective military organizations. Samuel's instinctive grasp of military bearing and protocol demonstrated the kind of foundational understanding that made some recruits naturally successful, while others struggled to comprehend why military service required such attention to seemingly minor details. Thompson had also worked as a military liaison with youth organizations, helping young people understand military career paths while teaching them about the values and commitments that made military service meaningful rather than simply adventurous or financially attractive. His experience had taught him to recognize genuine interest and respect when he encountered it, distinguishing between childhood fascination with military equipment and authentic understanding of military values and traditions. The connection between Samuel and Thompson represented exactly the kind of intergenerational military continuity that made ceremonial duties personally meaningful for professional soldiers. Thompson understood that his role wasn't just representing contemporary military service, but connecting current military personnel with historical tradition and inspiring future generations to consider military service as honorable career path that contributed to national security and international stability. Samuel's performance was demonstrating to everyone present that military values of discipline, respect, and honor weren't age-specific, but could be understood and expressed by anyone willing to invest the time and effort necessary to comprehend what military service represented. His behavior was providing exactly the kind of positive example that helped civilian society understand why military traditions deserved respect and support rather than casual dismissal or superficial appreciation. The moment developing between Thompson and Samuel represented the best possible outcome of ceremonial military duties, genuine connection between military tradition and civilian appreciation, demonstrated through authentic respect that transcended protocol while honoring the values that made both contemporary service and historical sacrifice meaningful to society that benefited from military dedication and professionalism. The salute exchange and its impact. The moment that would define both Samuel's morning and Thompson's career came when the 7-year-old stepped forward from his position with the same measured precision that Thompson had observed military recruits use during formal ceremonies. Samuel's movement wasn't impulsive childhood action, but carefully considered military protocol, executed with remarkable attention to proper timing, positioning, and respect for ceremonial space that demonstrated genuine understanding of military courtesy rather than casual mimicry. Samuel positioned himself at exactly the regulation distance from Thompson's post, came to perfect attention with heels together and shoulders squared, and executed a salute that would have impressed drill sergeants and senior officers alike. His small hand moved with precise timing to the correct position beside his miniature bearskin cap. His posture remained rigidly correct, and his expression showed the kind of serious respect that indicated complete understanding of the significance of the gesture he was making. The crowd around them had gone completely silent, recognizing instinctively that they were witnessing something extraordinary that transcended routine tourist interaction with ceremonial guards. Parents held their children closer, tourists lowered their cameras, and even the most casual observers seemed to understand that Samuel's salute represented genuine military respect rather than childhood performance seeking attention or entertainment. Thompson faced a decision that balanced centuries of military protocol with recognition of authentic respect that deserved acknowledgement regardless of the age of the person demonstrating it. His training emphasized maintaining ceremonial bearing under all circumstances, but his experience as a soldier and leader taught him that exceptional situations sometimes required responses that honored both military tradition and the values that made military service meaningful to civilian society. After a pause that seemed to last forever, but probably lasted only seconds, Thompson made the decision that would create one of the most touching military moments ever captured on camera. With the same precision and dignity that he brought to every aspect of his ceremonial duties, Thompson returned Samuel's salute with a crisp, professional gesture that acknowledged not just the child's respect, but his remarkable demonstration of military bearing and understanding of tradition. The effect on the assembled crowd was immediate and profound. Spontaneous applause erupted from dozens of observers who had witnessed an exchange that perfectly demonstrated the relationship between military service and civilian respect, showing how authentic appreciation could bridge generational gaps while honoring traditions that connected contemporary society with historical sacrifice. Many people were openly crying, understanding that they had observed something genuinely meaningful rather than routine ceremony. But Thompson wasn't finished with his acknowledgement of Samuel's exceptional behavior. Breaking protocol completely but maintaining perfect military dignity, Thompson stepped forward and knelt down to Samuel's eye level, creating an opportunity for the kind of direct communication that would honor the child's respect, while providing educational value that went far beyond simple recognition. "Young man, that was the finest salute I've received in 12 years of military service," Thompson said quietly, his voice carrying just far enough for nearby observers to hear while maintaining the intimacy appropriate for meaningful recognition between military professionals. "Your uniform, your bearing, and your respect honor every soldier who has ever worn this regiment's colors." Samuel's response was equally dignified and appropriate, demonstrating that his understanding of military protocol extended to proper communication with senior military personnel. "Thank you, Sergeant," Samuel replied with perfect military courtesy. "My great-grandfather served with the Coldstream Guards, and my grandfather taught me that wearing the uniform means honoring everyone who wore it." Before, Thompson's recognition of Samuel's family military heritage created an additional layer of meaning to their exchange, connecting not just two individuals but multiple generations of military service through a moment that honored both historical sacrifice and contemporary commitment to military values. "Your great-grandfather and grandfather would be very proud of how you've represented their service today," Thompson replied. "You've shown everyone here what real respect looks like." The interaction concluded with Thompson returning to his ceremonial position, while Samuel stepped back to his own position of attention, both of them having demonstrated that military courtesy and tradition could create meaningful connections across age and rank while maintaining the dignity essential to ceremonial duties. The video footage of their exchange, captured from multiple angles by observers who understood they had witnessed something special, began spreading across social media within minutes. Within hours, the video had been viewed millions of times, generating comments from military families, veterans, and civilians around the world who recognized the authentic respect and professional acknowledgement that had created such a touching moment. The exchange had become a symbol of the positive relationship between military service and civilian appreciation, demonstrating how genuine understanding and respect could create connections that transcended protocol while honoring the values that made both military service and civilian support meaningful. The lasting impact of Samuel and Thompson's exchange extended far beyond viral video status, inspiring countless conversations about military appreciation, the importance of teaching children about service and sacrifice, and the ways that authentic respect could bridge differences in age, background, and experience. Their moment had reminded everyone watching that the best military-civilian relationships were built on mutual understanding, genuine respect, and recognition that military service and civilian support were both essential elements of maintaining the freedom and security that made such touching exchanges possible. Have you ever witnessed a moment when someone's genuine respect created an instant connection across differences? Think children can understand and demonstrate military values as well as adults? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one, and these conversations matter more than you know. If this story reminded you that respect has no age limit, and that authentic appreciation can bridge any gap, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss the next one. Share this with someone who needs to remember that teaching children about honor and respect creates the next generation of people who understand what service and sacrifice really mean. More stories about the connections that remind us why military service matters are waiting right here on your screen. Click one now and I'll see you tomorrow, with another reminder that sometimes the most profound moments happen when genuine respect meets professional excellence. Until then, remember, the values that make us better people can be understood and expressed by anyone willing to learn what they really mean.